Yesterday's news, I guess, how and where were you when you received it, and how did it make you feel?
Yeah, so I got a text message on Monday night, I guess, from Jimmy Dunn saying, hey, can I give you a call in the morning? So I said, sure. Jimmy rang me at about 6:30 yesterday morning. We had a chat. Took me through the news, took me through the deal, the structure of the deal, what it meant for us, what it meant for the DP World Tour. So yeah, I learned about it pretty much at the same time everyone else did. And yeah, it was a surprise. I knew there had been discussions going on in the background. I knew that lines of communication had been opened up. I obviously didn't expect it to happen as quickly as it did. But I really think that, from what I gathered, the tour felt they were in a real position of strength coming off the back of the DP World winning their legal case in London. It sort of weakened the other side's position, and they went in there, and the way Jimmy described it, Rory, sometimes you got 280 over water and you just got to go for it. And that's what they did. And I think ultimately, when I try to remove myself from the situation and I look at the bigger picture and I look at 10 years down the line, I think ultimately this is going to be it's going to be good for the game of professional golf. I think it secures it unifies it, and it secures its financial future. So. There's mixed emotions in there as well, as there's going to be. I don't understand all the intricacies of what's going on. It's a very, what's the word? There's a lot of ambiguity. There's a lot of things still to be sort of thrashed out, but at least it means that the litigation goes away, which has been a massive burden for everyone that's involved with the tour and that's playing the tour, and we can start to work toward, some sort of way of unifying the game at the elite level.
Hey, Adam on the left.
Rory, has over the last day with the different meetings and the conversations you've had with players, has your opinion changed at all? Have you sort of started to see where this is all going, and are you excited about this? Are you optimistic about this? As you project it forward, what do you?
Yeah, so I think the one thing that I think was really misconstrued yesterday was all the headlines were PGA Tour merges with LIV, and LIV has got nothing to do with this, right? It's the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, and the Public Investment Fund are basically partnering to create a new company. This has gotten, I think that's where I was a little frustrated, because all I've wanted to do and all I've wanted, in the past year from basically this tournament is to protect the future of the PGA Tour and protect the aspirational nature of what the PGA Tour stands for. And I hope that this does that, but, I think with the headlines being merges with LIV, that's not the... if you look at the structure of how it's structured down, this new company sits above everything. Jay's the CEO of that, so technically, anyone that is involved with LIV now would answer to Jay. So, the PGA Tour have control of everything, and the one thing as well is, whether you like it or not, the PIF are going to keep spending money in golf. At least the PGA Tour now controls how that money is spent. So if you're thinking about one of the biggest sovereign wealth funds in the world, would you rather have them as a partner or an enemy? At the end of the day, money talks, and you'd rather have them as a partner.
Given that the DOJ was already looking into the PGA Tour for antitrust violations and all that, how much of an uphill battle do you think this is going to be to push this through going forward now that the two sides have kind of come together and are operating together here?
That's way above my pay grade. I have no idea how the Department of Justice operates. I have not been involved in any of those discussions, and it would be very silly and naive of me to comment on that.
All right, we'll go to Lucas right here on the aisle.
Hi, Rory. I know it's early, but how does an announcement like this impact tournaments like the Canadian Open, for example, one of the storied events on the PGA Tour?
I mean, I feel bad for RBC and the Canadian Open to think about what went on this time last year and then the bombshell that was dropped. I mean, RBC have been one of the biggest supporters of the PGA Tour over the last 10 years. They, this year they're supporting a designated event at Hilton Head. They're sponsoring their National Open. They're pouring tens of millions of dollars into the PGA Tour that the players obviously benefit from. So I feel bad because being such a great partner and having this stuff sort of dropped on you 2 years in a row is very unfair. As to what it looks like going forward, I'd like to say that things don't change. I'd like to think that the Canadian Open keeps on thriving, and just like every other event on the PGA Tour. And I think the PGA Tour are hopefully going to announce their 2024 schedule here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and I don't think that'll. I don't expect that to change.
Another one on the right here.
Rory Dingley from CBC News. We heard there was a lot of anger in the clubhouse yesterday in the meeting with the commissioner. Do you still have confidence in Jay Monahan as commissioner of the PGA?
Yeah, I do. And look, I've dealt with Jay a lot closer than a lot of those guys have, and from where we were a couple of weeks ago to where we are today, I think the future of the PGA Tour looks brighter as a whole, as an entity. What that looks like for individual players in terms of keeping a tour card and bringing players back into the fold, and then that sacrifices other people. That's where the anger comes from, right? And I understand that, and there still has to be consequences to actions. The people that left the PGA Tour irreparably harmed this tour, started litigation against it. We can't just welcome them back in. That's not going to happen. And I think that was the one thing that Jay was trying to get across yesterday is guys, we're not just going to bring these guys back in and pretend like nothing's happened. That is not going to happen. So I do have confidence in him. I think you ask the people around him that deal with him in a business sense, whether it's the directors of the board of the PGA Tour or the title sponsors that he deals with. I mean, he seems to be a very impressive individual when it comes to business.
Second question. I know you and many other golfers were offered substantial amounts of money to join LIV.
I was never offered any money.
My apologies. Should the golfers who maybe stayed loyal and turned down LIV, should they be made whole financially?
I mean, the simple answer is yes. The complex answer is how does that happen? Mm-hmm. Right? And that's all gray area and up in the air at the minute. But yeah, there's, it's hard for me to not sit up here and feel somewhat like a sacrificial lamb and, feeling like I've put myself out there and this is what happens. Again, removing myself from the situation, I see how this is better for the game of golf. There's no denying that. But for me as an individual, yeah, there's just going to have to be conversations that are had.